Hello, this is Mrs. Neill, and this is lesson number 19, 30, 60, 90 triangles. All right, we are looking at right triangles, and your 30, 60, 90 is a special right triangle. We just finished 45, 45, 90. It's the same concept. However, when you have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, all three sides are different. In 45, 45, 90, the two legs were the same length. That's because that was dealing with an isosceles right triangle. This is not an isosceles triangle. Your 60-degree angle is your short leg. And if you can remember that, that's very helpful in working these problems. Your 30-degree side happens to be the long leg. And then you have your hypotenuse, which is opposite your right angle. So, the 60-degree side is a short leg. The 30-degree side is the long leg. So it's going to have a longer value than this short leg here. And the hypotenuse is twice as long as this short leg. So if you get 5 for the short leg, just double it, and your hypotenuse is 10. So let's look at a theorem. If you need to, stop the video to write this down. Theorem. In a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the hypotenuse is twice as long as the shorter leg, which is this one right here, and the longer leg is a square root of 3 times as long as the short leg. This one's got a radical also. It's a square root of 3 though. Remember when we did 45, 45, 90, our root was square root of 2? Well, with 30, 60, 90, our root is a square root of 3. So if you would remember that, it's very, very helpful. Formulas. Let's set this up. And I have it written over here, and I have it written over here too. This triangle's just on its side, and this one's upright. We use A is short leg. A squared of 3 is the formula for your long leg, and then 2A is the hypotenuse. Because let's look right here. The hypotenuse is twice as long as the shorter leg. So if this is A, then that's 2A. And the longer leg is a square root of 3 times as long as a short leg. So it's square root of 3 times longer. Alrighty, now what I have students do all the time is they'll get these two formulas mixed up right here. They'll put the A squared of 3 right there, and that is not correct. Let me show you what I use, a little trick. I say the little rhyme, the A squared root of 3 is by the 30 degree. The A square root of 3 is by the 30 degree. If you notice, this is a 3 and that's a 3. So if you have the 30 degree, you need an A square root of 3 by it. Those two go together. So if you can remember that little rhyme, that will help you know where to place everything. Because 30, 60, 90 triangles are a little tougher, a little bit more to have to remember and to work with as opposed to your 45, 45, 90. All right, let's start and just jump into some examples. So we want to find the missing side of each of the 30, 60, 90 triangles. Okay, let's write our formula. Short leg, and then you can look off over here if you need help. Short leg is A. Okay, if this is a 60 degree, that's the 30 degree there. Remember, the 30 degree is A squared root of 3, and the hypotenuse is 2A. Okay, how am I going to solve that? 2A is equal to 6. So let's solve for that. I can say 2A is equal to 6. Let's do a little divide by 2. and I get A is equal to 3. So my A value here is 3. So everywhere I see an A, I'm going to put the number 3 there. Okay, there's one right there. That's 3. And then this one is going to be 3 square root of 3. So 3 square root of 3 is the length of that missing side. Okay, let's look at this one here. I'm given 8. Okay, hypotenuse is 2A. 60-degree side is A. And this side is A square root of 3. Okay, if I go 2A is equal to 8, what's A? A is going to be 4, isn't it? Or I could look right here and say the A square root of 3 equals 4 square root of 3. If you notice, the A and the 4 match up with each other. So my A value is going to be 4. So I'm going to put a 4 right there. So the X value, the 60-degree side, happens to be 4. Okay, let's do this one right here. Let's write our formula. 60 degree is A. 30 degree has A square root of 3. Remember, the 3's match up. If you have a 30 degree, you're going to have a square root of 3 by it. Hypotenuse is 2A. So I'm going to use my 2A is equal to 12. Equal to 10, not 12. Divide by 2. And I get A is 5. So everywhere I see an A, I'm going to put a 5 by it. Okay, here's an A here. This is a 5. So the length of that side, Y, is 5. See right here, it's A square root of 3. A is 5. I'm going to put a 5 here. And so this side, of the 30-degree side, is 5 square root of 3. There we go. There are more things to keep up with when you do a 30, 60, 90 triangle. If you go on and take pre-calculus, you will use 30, 60, 90 triangles. It's called a special triangle. You will use this a lot, and you will be setting up problems just like this. And it'll just become second nature to you. And I realize this is the first time you're doing this, and so it's going to be a little tougher. But you will be doing this a whole lot when you take pre-calculus and you get into trigonometry. All right, this says this is 16. That's a 2A side. That's a hypotenuse. 60 degree is A. And then this is my 30-degree side, so that's A square root of 3. Okay, so 2A equals 16. Divide by 2, and A is 8. So everywhere I see an A, I'm going to put an 8 there. There's an A, so I'm going to put an 8 there. And here's an A, and I'm going to put an 8 there. So X is 8, and Y is 8 square root of 3. Okay, do the formula again. This is 60 degrees, so this one has to be the 30-degree side. 30 degree has the A square root of 3. The 3 and the 3 go together. Please do not get those in the wrong place. 60 degree is A, and this is 2A. All I'm doing is I have to know my formula. You need to know where those go. Okay, so if you see A square root of 3 equals 4 square root of 3, see how the A is taking the place of the 4 taking the place of the A. So now I'm going to go 2 times 4, and that gets me 8. So X is 8. And then this right here is just plain old 8. I'm going to write an 8 right on the top of that. So, I'm sorry, that's not right. A is 4. Let me change that. A is 4. So 2 times 4 was 8, and this is 8. Sorry about that. So Y would be equal to 4, not 8. Sorry about that. That is going to be a 4 there. All right, that looks correct now. Let's go on. We do have a special case. All right, remember when we did 45, 45, 90? You had that hidden radical in the hypotenuse? Well, you can have a hidden radical in the long leg. The 30-degree side Remember, that was a square root of 3. Notice my a squared of 3 happens to be a whole number. So I've got to get that reduced so I can find a and 2a. So this is a special case right here. If you notice the other examples that we did, our 30-degree side was always square root of 3, square root of 3, had a square root of 3 in it. However, now you've got a special case. This 30-degree side is a whole number, so I've got to find out what a is. I've got to solve for a so I can find these two. So I'm going to go a squared of 3 equals 6. Isn't that what this says? So now I'm going to divide by the square root of 3 over square root of 3. Reduce that. Those cancel. And I get a equals 6 over square root of 3. Okay, remember you cannot have a square root of 3 in the denominator. So we're going to have to rationalize the denominator. So let's take 6 square root of 3. How do we get rid of that? We're going to multiply it by what I call a fancy form of 1. What's my denominator? Square root of 3. So I'll multiply it by square root of 3 over square root of 3. And I'm going to get 6 square root of 3 over the square root of 9. And that's equal to 6 square root of 3 over 3. Now I'm not through. I've got two whole numbers that have common factors. I can reduce that by 3. So my a value is 2 square root of 3. See how we went through the math to find out what a was. First of all, 6 was a square root of 3. We solved for a, and our answer is 2 square root of 3. Okay, where do I put that? What did I found? I just found my a value. So let's look right here. My 60-degree side is a, so a. So this is 2 square root of 3. Okay, now I need to find 2a. So I'm finding 2 of what a is, 2 square root of 3. Multiply those are like, and I get 4 square root of 3. So this side right here is equal to 4 square root of 3. Okay, that is a special case there. My answer, this side is 6. This side is 2 square root of 3. And the y side is 4 square root of 3. Now, again, like we did with 45, 45, 90, when we had a special case, we learned a shortcut. Remember, it was called half it and root it. We have another shortcut also. Okay, it's a little bit different from the last one, not much though. So our shortcut is, if the 30-degree leg, which is the a squared of 3, happens to be a whole number in this example, it was a 6, then use the following shortcut to find the length of the short leg a. So we don't have to go through all of that math. That's time consuming. My shortcut is to third it and then root it. So what was this number here? This was a 6. If I third it, I'm dividing it by 3, right? I'm taking 1/3 of the value. So I'm going to divide it by 3, and I get 2. Then I want to root it. I want to root it. What is my root? Remember with 45, 45, 90, our root was square root of 2. What's our root here? Our root is square root of 3. Okay, how do you know the difference? To help you remember, if you notice, there's 3 different angles. Think of the number 3. 3 different lengths. Square root of 3. 30 degree, 3. Think of square root of 3. So our root is going to be rooted, be square root of 3. So the length of A is 2 square root of 3. I found that so much faster, didn't I? Alrighty, let's do one more example before we finish for this lesson. If I have a 30, 60, 90, okay, look at this. Which one's going to be A? Which one looks like the short leg? That one looks shorter to me. So that's the 60-degree side, and that's A. The longer leg's the 30-degree side, and that's A squared to 3, and this is 2A. Okay, let's say that my 30-degree side happens to be a whole number. Let's say it's 12. Okay, I'm just making that number up. Okay, if you notice, it's hidden. So when the side that has the radical with it happens to be a whole number, that's when I use my shortcut. I'm going to third it and root it. So I'm going to take 12, take 1/3 of it, which is the same as dividing it by 3, which is 4. Then I want to root it. And remember, my root here is going to be square root of 3. And so I'll get 4 square root of 3. Okay, what did I just found? I found the length of the short leg, which is A. So this length is 4 square root of 3. And then I take 2 times A. So I'm going to take 2 times A, which is 2 times 4 square root of 3. And that gets me 8 square root of 3. So the length of this hypotenuse happens to be 8 square root of 3. There we go. Okay, that is our 30, 60, 90 lesson for today. I'm Mrs. Neill. Thank you for listening.